are. Just friends.
Thank you for your flexibility, friends.
All right, I'm going to put it covered and we're going live. You ready for this?
I'm ready.
All right, friends, welcome to Touchgrass. From A to Z presents Touchgrass, where we, instead of talking about Aavegotchi the whole time, we're going to talk about lens and art, music, Web3, broader crypto intersection with art and culture, which is obviously very important to Gotchi Gang, and it's a natural bridge from talking about Aavegotchi and art there going into the broader ecosystem, because Aavegotchi was one of the first communities that were allowed into the Lens ecosystem as essentially like a cousin product to Lens Protocol. Like Aavegotchi and Lens Protocol are kind of like cousins coming out of the Aave ecosystem. So Aave was where I started in DeFi and Web3 in general. Like before I really got into NFTs and all that stuff, I understood DeFi very clearly and started using Aave right away, and I love it. So obviously, Lens and Aavegotchi are like, you know, as cousin products, there's something I definitely tapped into early. So yeah, I mean, I guess the first thing we'll get into, if at any point anybody has questions or wants to get in here, certainly raise your hand. Michaela and Zifi, y'all are up here as co-hosts in case I rug. We are also live on YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter with video, just in case you want to look at us for any reason, or you want to look at the visuals that I'll be showing, because I'll be kind of trying to use Lens and some of these dApps as visual aids as we go. So yeah, definitely jump in if I'm going too fast, if I'm missing something, if I'm just not doing it right, tell me to chill out. But yeah, I guess the first thing we'll do is we'll just get into like, what is Lens? I think everybody here so far knows, but we'll do it for the future audience that might be watching this.
Perfect.
So Lens is a decentralized social graph. Lens Protocol is not an application itself. It is your profile is an NFT. So when you name it, when you first set up that handle is it. You can change this white name here, but you can't change that at. Once you name it, that is that account, that is that Lens profile, and that profile, you put your PFP, your cover photo, your bio, your links, and all that stuff, just like you do with any social media. But the applications are built by other developers, and the other developers are creating things like what we're seeing here, which is Lenster. And Lenster is like their solution for Twitter. Lenster is one of the most popular dApps that we're using right now because it's just so versatile as far as being able to do pictures. You can do audio now, you can do video there. But there's also LensTube, where I prefer to use LensTube for posting videos because, as you can see here, the ones that I posted on LensTube get a good cover photo. And the ones that I posted on Lenster just get this like Lenster symbol that says that I made a post or a comment. So not as pretty. So definitely that's one of the interesting things for me on Lens is post things where you want them to be like seen, because the one that gives you the best features that you're trying to go for at that, for whatever it is. But then don't worry about it, because at the same time, it's still going to land on Lenster. So like this one here is from Zimtimo's, the holiday special. And then, but it was posted on LensTube, and you can still see it here on Lenster. Part of the problem, though, is that on LensTube, as you can see, I gave it a title and then I had the separate information, but it didn't choose my cover photo because I did it on LensTube. LensThera just gets the first frame, which there are workarounds for that, because if you just add your cover photo as the first like half a millisecond of your video, it'll actually instantly be the first frame. So there's workarounds for everything. But, obviously people don't want this out of social media. You're so spoiled now by, oh wait, I didn't switch tabs on y'all, sorry. But we're so spoiled by some of the things we get from Instagram, like even it's funny because even like the algorithm, for instance, people will curse the algorithm, but when you get on Lens for the first time and there's nothing there to guide you to content, you're like lost. You're like, how do I find anything? You
realize all of a sudden how naked you are without the algorithm.
Exactly. So yeah, and that's things that are going to change, because obviously, like, one of the cool things about this is people are going to build customizable algorithms. You're going to be able to go in and flip a switch and see things the way you want to see it, kind of thing. And then beyond that, you're able to get true metrics. You can say that, like, no one is stepping on your post. Whether it's being seen or not is more natural, whether you like it or not. Some posts don't do well and some posts do well. And then you can really start to, exactly. And you can really consider like what works and what doesn't work, and improve, and know that you're doing it based on what you want to be doing, and not the algorithm is forcing me to start doing reels because it doesn't like photos. You know what I mean? Like, it's almost like if you're not doing well with photos, you just need to.
Oh, we just lost your audio. You just muted yourself.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I accidentally hit the button. Self-rug. I'm blaming Twitter. So yeah, we're definitely in an early phase where it still feels like the early days of Instagram and MySpace, where it was literally this chronological feed and things weren't very pretty. Like, you're seeing someone's latest comment to like a 20 comment thread, and you're seeing the last thing said first. And it's not a pleasant UI for trying to dig up the original comment and stuff like that. But that stuff will definitely, those are growing pains with the whole thing, but we can get into more of like the details here of crafting a post. Because that is part of the great thing here, is that besides your account being an NFT, every post you make is an NFT. And how you think about posting is pretty important, because now with everything being an NFT, for one, being censorship resistant, you need to be the first level of censorship. Like, don't go around making NFTs of things you don't want people collecting, you said,
Yeah, you got to use that revert collect. If you're going to say stuff you don't want people collecting.
And that's part of it too. Like, part of the default setting is to have it be a free collect. And I have mine set up to be a revert collect, because if you're literally making every post an NFT, well, make every post rare by making it not collectible unless you want people collecting that thing. So I hit the revert collect on everything unless I want you to be able to take this with you. But yeah, we can get into some of the features here. I'm not going to post anything because I don't know if it's working right yet, but obviously you got your normal stuff here with like being able to set it up for who sees it, your friends of friends, followers, everyone. And then the revert collect, as I said, this is the first thing I have it on, but once you click this post can be collected, it's automatically a free collect, which at this point, the only thing you can limit a free collect by is whether or not they're following you. But later, we should be able to limit free collects as well. So you should be able to say this is free. There's only 200 of them. And that will currently right now, there's no way to, the only way you could limit a free collect is literally by deleting the original post. So if you do make a post that's free collect and, you know, it gets to a point where people have collected a bunch of them and you want to get rid of it, you could kind of like screenshot that post and then make a repost that says, hey, I burnt this. You can no longer collect this anymore. It's an option. Back to the screen here. So then once you stay charged for collecting, this is where it gets really interesting. And this is where you can really start to unlock thinking about the strategy and the price discovery that goes into your social media. And so you can select your currency, Matic, Ether, USDC, DAI, or Toucan Nature Carbon Ton. And then you can set the how much you want that to be, like the collect charge in what currency. And then the referral fee is the first really interesting thing here, because this is like not in any other NFT platform, period. Like even Fake Gotchis doesn't have this. The referral fee is essentially making an entirely like new, I wouldn't say a new class, but it's giving a new way for curators to get involved in the creative process. Because typically, like, you would think of curators as the middleman in between an artist and their money. It's the person who owns the gallery, it's the record company, it's Spotify, it's all the people that are the gatekeepers. But in this case, you know, in a way, like, curation has been taken away from us, because even like you know, getting into, like, we were talking in the last episode of about Floral Shop, for instance, and like that was internet culture. It was free. It wasn't you know, it was breaking the law in some cases, I guess you could almost say. I think now it's kind of like on the up and up. They're paying royalties on it and the whole thing. But when they made it saying, no, we're going to do what we want. And it was literally like going against YouTube and the algorithm. And but the point being that, like, the people who made that album popular were not the record labels. It was internet culture. So we are curators, and the referral fee gives us a chance to, like, to cash in on being early to artists that you love, you know,
you get
like,
rewarded for helping that artist's piece go viral.
exactly. And you know, we talked about this a lot with NFTs in general, and especially with the music industry. It's the first thing you ever talk about is like, oh, why are music NFTs valuable? It's like, well, because if you discover, you know, the big new artist before they're the big new artist, and you own that NFT, you know, not only will you have been there first and you've got that OG NFT you can probably flip, but they will always know you were there first. Whereas, like, in traditional music, you can't find out from Spotify who your
Right.
first listener was. Who's the first person that listened to my song on Spotify? I want to reward that person. Good luck, you know?
You're a faceless number. You're a user count.
But
Lost
on Lens, I know the first person that picked up seasoning. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Face knows the first person that picked up a Lens Lo-Fi, you know? So this is really, you know, have it being tied to your social media is powerful, because, you know, it's one less click getting people to come into your thing. It also doesn't kill NFTs, because realistically, this is more price discovery. You do some, you know, what a lot of Gotcha Gang has been doing is dropping versions of their fake Gotcha on Lens and seeing how it goes. And if people enjoy a thing,
smart.
they
Smart
do
than
a
testing.
really, yeah, they do a better version of it for fake Gotchis. In some cases, like Friends, This Is Fine, you end up burning the original because you've got to. But yeah, anyway, so getting back, you know, I like to get into tangents. But this referral fee incentivizes people to share your work. So you can almost think about the way you set your prices should be reflective of, like, what you want to take from a post as well as what you want to give from a post. Because say if you wanted to make 10 Matic from this, well, you could put it at, 1 Matic for 10 collects with a 0% referral fee, but then unless you got 10 friends willing to scoop it, it may not move. But you could set it at 2 Matic for 10 collects with a 50% referral fee, and now you stand to make somewhere in between 10 and 20 Matic, depending on how many of those sales go through a referral.
Yeah, you've also incentivized it to go viral so that you might be getting that target dollar amount more quickly than you expected.
Right. And like, you can limit the additions by however many you want. You can do the 24-hour limit later. There's going to be better time limits. Like you might be able to set 2 days, a week, whatever. You'll be able to set longer timelines for when these things expire. But right now it's only 24 hours. But another great feature, like what you were saying about the virality and tying it to the referral fee, is there's ways through LensPort, which is the lens solution to OpenSea is LensPort. LensPort allows you to do like raffles based on a post. So you could set this as there's only 10, they're 5 Matic a piece or whatever. There's a 50% referral fee, and then you come up with a follow-up post that's like, oh yeah, by the way, if you collected that post, you're in a raffle for a fake gotchi or another NFT or a t-shirt or something else. But you're incentivizing people to collect these posts because you're able to reward people who take your content to a bigger audience, and support it.
So now this is all on Lenster, right? This isn't
correct
necessarily on the Lens website. These are features that Lenster has enabled. And
so
you might have other platforms with different features, right?
Correct. I mean, everything has to be on the profile. So the protocol itself allows all of these things to be built on it. It's an API, just like any other API you might tap into. Like we're talking about the Gotchi SDK, there's the Polygon SDK, AWS, Amazon has their own APIs. Even in the early days of Facebook and Google and all these things, they had open APIs that allowed people to build on it. It's just obviously they got greedy and were taking too much, and now you got to pay 30% to do anything on their APIs. But
yeah, the answer to your question is C5. This is not Lenster's creation. This is Lenster's integration. So Lens API is what allows the collect module to be activated by anyone that wants to, and that's why we've seen it on things such as LensPort, Favor, Orb as well. It's a flipping a switch, plugging in infrastructure that has already been built via the wonderful Lens team.
I see.
And it's also
so if I make a post.
Well, it's also why you see, going back to what you were saying a second ago about other platforms, it's why you see different options on other platforms where you may not have the collect features. You may not have the same collect features. You might have to set things slightly differently from platform to platform. Even though it will land on Lens, you might not, through that other dApps UI, get those options. Like we've seen with Lumiere, where you can't set collect modules. It's a free collect automatically. They didn't tap any of those other things. But LensTube did tap into all those things where you can do all of these things for a video on LensTube the same way. I would also say that I kind of lost it, damn it.
I've got a question. Maybe I can get back.
Yeah, go ahead.
So if I were to post a post using Lenster to the Lens protocol, does that automatically show up on Favor, Orb, LensPort? Like, does it show up on
You did
all
remind
of
me. There you go. It will show up on all of those things.
And it's not mirroring, right? It's like typically in Web 2, if we were posting something and wanted it to go to Twitter and Facebook and Instagram, it would be mirrored. It would be posted every time at every single one of those sites as a separate new individual post. Whereas it seems like with Lens, it's exact opposite. from a bunch of different places. You can post to one centralized source that is then referred to by all those places.
That's
And
exactly
the point is
when
that
it
it's
says
one NFT. Yeah, it's one NFT, and all those dApps are pulling that one
Gotcha.
post instead of
the,
10 posts to 10 platforms.
the index in reference is indeed the Lens ecosystem index.
Exactly. And
Very
it's
new, very
almost
neat.
like, in a way, Lens has already surpassed what ENS is promising, because like that's what ENS is saying is you're going to sign in with ENS. Well, you're essentially doing that with Lens. Every time you go to adapt, you're signing in with Lens, and now you're getting the functionality of that Lens account on that dApp, whatever that dApp is. And we haven't quite seen that with ENS yet. But there's also talks of Lens and ENS working together. I mean,
That could be
three,
powerful.
all of the letters of ENS are in Lens, so it seems on in the same order too. So it's not even really a hard play there.
Tech announcement, rebrand. Yep.
So yeah,
Well, cool.
yeah, go ahead.
I was just
the thing I was going to say, the about Orb and Favor and those other things. The problem with the mobile dApps is that they cannot do any paid collects at all because it's mobile. So they're going through the Google Store, the Apple Store, and they're being blocked on doing transactions. So you can only do
those
these
stores
transactions on desktop, or you can do these transactions on your MetaMask app through the MetaMask browser. Like inside the MetaMask app, there's a browser, a native browser, so you can use that to use Linster and other things, and you can collect there. Yeah,
that's how I do the petting for the Aavegotchis on the go, is using that MetaMask built-in browser.
Right. So you can do that, and I don't know how MetaMask gets away with it, but that's pretty cool that they can, and hopefully it stays. Hopefully that backdoor stays for as long as possible, because it feels like at some point, Apple and Google are greedy. They're going to go for that backdoor if they find out.
Web3 is quick and agile. If they go for the backdoor, we'll just create one that doesn't fall within their ecosystem. There will always be a way around. Browser based, come at me. Like they'll find a way.
I mean, when is Edward Snowden going to start a YouTube channel telling us how to jailbreak everything? Like, I feel like this dude is doing a disservice by not continuing to leak valuable information. I mean, we know he does it to his phone. Like, the dude literally opens up a phone and solders a bunch of stuff on the chip to make sure that he can't be tracked, he can't be listened to, they can't take pictures.
He removes the camera and the microphone, and he attaches cameras and microphones that are external when needed only.
Right. And I mean, that's kind of how I am now on my computer, because I do have a desktop now. So I unplug my microphone and my camera when I'm not streaming. Whereas on the laptop, I can't do that. It's just there. They can microburst whenever they want. That's what they do when they spy on you. They call it microbursting. Doesn't sound as bad. It's literally spying on you.
Who's doing the microbursting?
Google, Facebook, they all do it. Like, basically they can turn on your camera, your microphone for microbursts. And so many microbursts throughout the day give them a clear idea of who you are, where you are, all this stuff. Like,
hate that. Yeah.
It's how they're able to like give you these like ads about words you said one time, and you're like, why were you listening? It's like,
yeah.
Well, it's almost, you're kind of reminding me of a common topic that we have a lot, talking about just we're here where we are right now with Twitter and Facebook and all these things. Are we the product or are we the producer? And I think that is the transition into the Lens ecosystem.
With Lens, you're the producer. Exactly. And even the people reproducing your stuff are part of your product. This
is something that Bradley talks about with the developer team, and it's that like Lens is made for developers, but Lens is also made for creators. And that's really what this comes down to, is that like GMI knows this, but like developers are creators. Like, what they're doing is an art form. Like, you could think about code as purely utilitarian, but the bottom line is like if you think about the magic of writing code, like why does code work? Why? Like why can you just input a bunch of symbols and it makes silicon function like a human brain? You know what I mean? It just doesn't make any sense. It just, it's magic. It's literal alchemy. Yeah.
Something like that, yeah.
It is no crazier than arranging a whole string of frequencies and vibrations to make pleasant sounds.
Bingo.
It's kind of true. I mean, I'll take that one. Music is certainly magic. It is certainly, you're conjuring something there. You're doing something that is completely
manipulation of frequencies, I think, in any situation counts as magic. That's energy. You're an energy bender.
Right. Exactly. So yeah, I mean, where else should I go next in this? Do I have anything else I should dive into on the collect, or do we need to move into whatever the next level is going to be? I can go through my feed here a little bit.
I feel pretty good about the collect feature. Maybe you could show collecting a post, or there's a tab on your own profile where you can see everything you've collected, right? That might be a good next step.
Yeah. So, I mean, so it's a bit weird because at this point, there's also not a great UI for hiding things, and also this is all your NFTs and not just your Lens posts. So earlier I was talking about my friend
too.
Jessie Fries. That's her thing on Manifold there. The Pepe with fries and the Moon McDonald's. And then we got Aikawa here, who's one of our fake gachi artists. This is something they threw up on Lens earlier today. But it's right, and like, see, like this rich baby, I think this is like a scam NFT somebody sent me. So not a great UI with being able to hide things you don't want. This rug I like.
But I'm sure that'll be coming in the future. That's, just additional functionality.
That's a fake gachi. Oh wait, that's a fake. Do I have a fake Sam in my wallet? Holy shit!
That was the surprise drop.
Oh man!
Merry Christmas from Pepe.
Yes.
Merry Christmas! I got a fake Sam in my wallet. This is beautiful. But yeah, then you can see these are Lens posts. So it doesn't differentiate here in this thing, but over here, so that's the NFT tab. But in the media tab, it does show you specific media that you've posted, including your GIFs. Which this is a revert collect. You see, there's no collect button on this.
Well, and like let's kind of like just discuss the real world functionality of how this is all happening. Because here you are streaming, so I just saw that Aikawa piece across your feed. Aikawa was my Secret Santa, so I'm a big fan. So I shoot over there and I collect it as well, and he's got another 80 cents in his wallet as we speak.
Right. There you go. So I mean, exactly, and it's like, same thing. We showed T-Bird in the last one. T-Bird, it wasn't a Lens collect. And that's a perfect example right there, is like, he does lots of work on Lens, but then he also drops his Manifold thing, because this Manifold NFT on ETH Layer 1 is a different beast. It's a different thing. Same thing with like the one I showed from Jessie Fries. That's a Layer 1 NFT. It was a free mint. But so, using Lens on Polygon and doing this doesn't negate other forms of NFTs. If anything, it adds social media to that thing. It adds price discovery, and more importantly, it adds community and art discovery, because you can throw something out there, and if people don't respond to it, well, maybe you don't mint this on Layer 1, or you don't make it a fake gachi. You don't go through those extra hurdles for a piece of art you feel like may not do well, when you see something else that you like doing well. Like, and it could be your own art is the point. Like, you drop one project, it doesn't do well. You drop something else, it does well. You're like, I mean, this is how every artist finds a style, is because you start doing more and more of the things that make more money over, sadly. I mean, that's kind of how it goes. Like, you can think about this with singers. Why does every singer have a style? Well, if you listen to their first album, they probably only have that style on one or two songs. And then on the second album, they have that style on 80% of the album. And they still have a few gems in there where they're being somebody else and they're trying something else. But then by the time they get to their their, junior and senior albums, their third and fourth, then they found what sold and they found what
Those
makes
are
the ladies go
commercialized.
wild and whatever it is, and they do that voice. And then their next 6 albums are going to have that voice on it. And now you know what that singer sounds like.
I sure hope Lord's listening right here because I'm waiting for a recursion there. Those are 3 very different albums. That's usually not the case. You're right.
Yeah, I mean, usually, like, you find a singer does voice discovery. They go through a series of songs where they find out which ones hit, and then that's who they become because, like, going outside of that range becomes hard to sell. Like, you do something different, and all of a sudden people are like, we're not into this. They trash you, so it does push you into that, sadly.
What's on your mind, Mr. Face?
Yeah, so Face
Yeah,
had
Hey,
to speak.
what's going on, guys?
Yeah,
How you
you've
doing?
done really well in Lens. Jump in here and tell us about your experience.
Hey, what's up? Yeah, I actually wanted to ask you a question, Zombie. I was really interested in what you guys were talking about. I was just gonna say, so you've been on Lens for like at least half a year now, right? Couple months?
Yeah, I got on there probably in August,
Yeah.
July. Yeah.
So like in your time, because you've released NFTs before Lens, and you're like definitely one of the first people to like experiment on there with trying to find like you were talking about, like just the right amount of mints based on the project that you're releasing, or based on even just a one-off piece that you might be sharing. Um,
hmm
do you still like? What do you feel like you've learned so far in terms of like pricing and setting like limits on for rarity and stuff like that?
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah, that's definitely something I'm still learning, and I feel like that's the kind of the thing we'll always be learning on Lens. Hopefully, is like that's the beauty of it. But I would say that so far, like, okay, so I did some like AI art that was like inspired by my own music. And I was like, I basically was just playing around with DALL-E. And I set those at like maybe 5 collects for 2 Matic a piece. And they sold out with it. Every day I would drop one and it would sell out within, 36 hours. And then I would drop another one. So, but those weren't precious. They were just something I was playing with, and I'm glad people were collecting it. And I'm still going to go back and reward those people because, I mean, that was like Stani and No Future that were collecting those. Like it was early, like there were a whole lot of people there still, but those were not like precious. So it's harder when it's precious because like with our animations, for instance, it's hard to put up an animation and not value it like an animation and just put it up there as like a social media post and be like, oh, I'm gonna like make this like, it's hard to like say, all right, well, I'm only gonna make 10 of these, but I'm also gonna make them like 2 Matic, because then you're like, well, my animation, the things Darlene and I do are clearly worth more than 20 Matic. So it's a bit of like, are you lowballing yourself then? Or do you go through that thing of like putting something out there and then having it sit? And is that worse to have it sit? Or do you wait for people to actually wake up and go collect that thing? I think that there's like mixed feelings on that. But like we did with Cosmic Spaghetti was actually pretty successful. In a sense, it was pretty successful. We did a 24-hour mint. We set it at like 42.069 Matic. We only sold 5. But that's probably the most we ever made off of an independent film. So like, how can you complain if you
Right.
make, you know what I mean? Like, oh,
Right.
we just made 200 Matic on a film that we literally already ran through the festival route and got nothing for. So like to make two, like,
Right. Yeah. No, I feel okay. That's great to know because like everything you said, yeah, that's exactly where I'm at. Like, and the difference with me is prior, before this last year, like I wasn't even into anything Web3 or crypto. Like my brother, I had just a small like portfolio, but that was like my brother was taking care of it. Like I just gave him cash, and he was like, "Yeah, I'll buy you some crypto. You know, I'll start a small portfolio for you or whatever." So all of this is
Cool.
very new for me. Never mind like uh, being a Web3 artist. You know what I mean? I was like, what even? Are you serious? You know, like I kind of I skipped a bunch of steps because I understood before like okay, so with sharing music, right? I I totally understand like for what I do, I understand that sentiment of that there's different levels of commitment for different pieces of work that you have. So like you were talking about the animation being like to you it's way more valuable than your daily practice, let's say, right? This is something that you spent like it took a lot of thought and then it took a lot to actually execute.
Right.
Whereas like if I'm just sitting there one day for a 2 hour like beat making session, sure, I might come up with like a really cool track, and I'll be able to let that go too. If someone wanted that, in general, I share my music with anyone. Like if any artists or stuff want to sing or like rap on the beat that I have, I usually just give it to them. You know, um, now it's like I don't know. I feel like so I tried the free collect for the first time ever, right? Because I wanted to get like that's the only thing I really had engaged yet. I came out the gate with my passion project, like you were talking about. So it was Lens Lo-Fi. Each piece is like animated, and there's a track, and there's a common theme that makes the whole thing like an EP altogether, right?
Right.
So I couldn't like, even though it was my first post, literally on Lens, like I'd had the profile for 2 months, but I was holding off on posting anything because I wanted to like debut it with that, you
A
know.
good Genesis post. We're the same
Yeah,
way with From A to Z. We have an account. We haven't posted yet because our Genesis post has to mean something. It's got to be powerful. So yeah.
yeah, you want to kind of like kick it off, strong, and I didn't have any expectations for it either. Like I understood that just for I guess my reputation as an artist, which is like kind of non-existent, I can't expect people who don't like. First of all, I didn't have followers on the account, and like there's not a particular like fan base that's gonna follow me over to Lens to like, oh, I can't wait to go, collect this guy's stuff. But still, I was just like, okay, if I were to make this collection, because everything else up until that point had been a thought, right? And then I saw it all come together, and then I had a final product, and now it's like, all right, so how do we like market this to people, or like how do you even price it? So I tried to do something that was a little bit more than literally everything that I was seeing on the Lens homepage. I just got on there and I started scrolling and I was looking and I was kind of like assigning a value to whatever I was looking at, whatever post, and then I was seeing how much the person who was posting was charging
You're
for that
playing a
thing.
low Price is Right with it.
Kind of, yeah.
That's a good idea.
Absolutely, yeah. On the first page, just like looking through them, and I was like, okay, so like some of them were memes, right? So like I can make a meme on my phone, like I could take a popular image, just add some text to it, and upload it. And like I do that sometimes. Like I like making memes, but I would never think to charge someone for that ever. Like I'd send it to my friends. But cool, this person did that, and like, look, there's a bunch of people that saw value in this, and this is like kind of my learning experience because I'm just looking. I'm like, huh, that's interesting. Like people like this,
Right.
people don't like this.
Why
Photography. I
wouldn't you
found
pay one
myself.
or two Matic for a meme you like? You know what I
I,
mean? Like,
right. It's just it had never been a thing up until this point, right? You just kind of get the meme or you see it somewhere, and it's like, okay, cool. And I understand that Lens is like it's a social media platform, so the kind of stuff that's posted there. I mean, sure, it's media, but it's gonna be different stuff. It's gonna be all kinds of different stuff. Before this year, like I didn't ever think I'd buy a photograph from somebody online as an art piece just
Same.
for the sake of it. Like I never thought that I would do that. I take photos myself. Like I have a bunch of cameras and stuff, and like I've bought photos before, like stock images to use commercially. So like on album art and stuff, right? Like that kind of stuff, like commercial use and stuff. But I never thought of it as like oh, I'm gonna buy this person's artwork because I really like the photo. And then a couple weeks ago, I did. Like, I bought a one of one uh, from Grams.lens. He's in the creator program as well. I don't.
Yeah,
You've probably
yeah.
seen his stuff. He's got some really cool stuff, man. And he's always like. He's very passionate about his work. Like, you could tell every time he does a post, it's like a whole essay written about it, and like, you know, he's always like reposting and showing you old sets of work and stuff that he had. So I bought one, and it was a one of one for 30 Matic, right? And it came with perks, which I didn't even know about later. He had like he made it token gated. He's like experimenting on Lensport with the token gating and allowing for people to, you know, holders of certain pieces to see certain content. But that's so far that's been my experience. Like, I jumped in and I priced it higher than anything I saw, which was like kind of a bold move looking back, but I didn't really think much of it, and I wasn't trying to like oversell
I did the
myself
same
either.
with Cosmic Spaghetti. I was even in communication with Brad and Christina at that time, like that early on in August when I did that. I was talking to them already. And I asked them about what I should price it at, and they were like, oh, maybe 1 to 5 Matic. And I was like, how about 42 Matic for 24 hours? And they were like, I don't know, that seems a bit much. And I'm like, well, I'm gonna do it. Like,
Yeah, we'll see what
Right.
happens.
I got my feedback after the fact. Like, they were supposed to tell me. I was put in contact, and it was like, oh, we're gonna help, you know, help with the drop. And I didn't know what that meant, to be honest. I was just like, okay. I was kind of waiting for someone to contact me. Then I realized, I was like, man, I don't really have anything up on here. Like, you know, I've done everything else up until this point. Like, I'm just gonna pull the trigger, you know. And like I
oh
was
yeah.
telling you, that was my research. Like, just looking at what I feel like it's so early still on Lens that by me just looking at the, you know, scrolling the homepage, I could probably learn a lot. And so like as soon as I uploaded those, I did them 6 posts back to back, like 6 tracks. Those were my first 6 posts. And then I was like, all right, man, like the rest of the time, like this project took me dedicated maybe 2 months, right? And that's without the artwork. Like, I went back and forth with the artist. Like, that was the harder part. The music to me is easy because I can do it on my own time, and so I can put as many hours as I need to. But like when I'm working with a visual artist, it becomes a little tricky. Uh, so right after I posted that, I was just like, well, I have a bunch of stuff that's like way. It took me way less. Like, I know the value of it. It doesn't say anything about how I feel about the music. It doesn't mean I feel like the music is weaker. In fact, I think some of them are better than the stuff that's on Lens Lo-Fi, you know? But if I were to just present that or like put that up for sale somewhere, I wouldn't charge as much unless someone wanted like exclusive rights to it because they wanted to make it their own, you know, they want to record a song to it and then like release it on their own. It would be a little different. But like for mass consumption, let's say, or just regular, like for people who are on your profile, I want to make stuff that's also like they might be interested in and will be obviously like affordable to them. I'm not trying to like hurt oh damn, I gotta like, you know, it's I can't ever collect like face stuff because it's too pricey, you know.
Well, that's
And
also even as a musician, you know, I know you know this, you just have some music that's more precious. You have some stuff that, you know, like seasoning, I love that thing, but it's not as hard to do as something that involves guitars and drums and singing and all this other stuff. So I can do seasoning for 3 Matic, you know, and limit it. I think it's like 100 collects at most, but that's reasonable. But if I'm gonna like pull out the guitars and the mics and do all that extra production, then yeah, I'm gonna have to price that a lot higher than I can't, you know.
right, and like yeah, and then another way to gauge it. So that was the next move, right? I did a series of 6 that were like they also had animations and stuff. It was just older work that I never like really released anywhere, and I used those, and I priced them much lower. They were like at 5 Matic, and I think I made them like limited. I can't remember, maybe 50 pieces or something. I just wanted to see, you know, I'm trying to get like find like a nice average or something where I could like just more data, so like I'll have a better understanding of what to do moving forward. And
Right.
so
What have you found
what
so
happened?
far?
I
How-
found that
what do you
right
have
after, yeah, that's the thing, is like the 200 followers like thing is my that was the only thing, like I felt like, okay, this is an opportunity to test how many people are even interested in collecting. Like, never mind a price tag, right? If I were to do something for free, there's 200 people that willingly, just like out of their own will, they decided to follow me for whatever reason. So now I'm curious. I'm seeing, like, if I gave them a piece of art, because this is what I'm gonna do here. This is the kind of content I'm gonna give here. So if I were to give something for free, which I like to do every once in a while too, like, wow, thanks for even listening. You know, here you go. I made this for you. I did that, and I said, thank you for 200 follows. Here's a freebie. You know what I mean? I had this track that I'd been working on this week. I made some cover art for it and uploaded it. And that was a week ago. I the only thing I set it to was must be a follower to collect.
Right.
That's one of the options that you could put there. And I was doing that as like thank you to the 200 that followed me. I actually meant to limit the collects to 200. I forgot to do that. My bad. But
You can't
still.
limit a free yet.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's it. You didn't really forget so much as it didn't even offer you the option.
Okay, cool, man. That's what nice. Right. So what I learned from that is, here we are a week. This was about a week ago. In a week, I had a bunch of people follow me just to collect that post. So like my notifications would say, this person followed you, this person liked the post, this person collected the post. Boom. And then it happened over and over and over and over again. And I haven't posted anything since, but now I have 300 followers. So literally went from 200 to 300 by just putting a free beat up there. So I'm like, all right, people really like
and
free
that's
stuff.
part of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's part of it too, is like growing your audience. It's not just price discovery. It's also like discovering what works, discovering like, what is your conversion rate from followers to interaction and engagement? Yeah.
Audience discovery.
Yeah, because I'm curious. Like when I look on there, and it's a lot of like dev talk and stuff too. People very hype about Web3 and stuff, as well as artists. So it's like sometimes I'm looking and I'm just like, dude, are these people even like? Is anyone actually coming to Lens because they're looking for music? That's kind of like.
Well, we'll get into that next week because we're coming up on about 4 minutes to wrap up for Zombie Time. But I want to get into Web3 music and the dApps that are being built over there, because I think people are going to Lens for music, and I think that it's going to open up more and more, just for the reasons you're saying. Like, why would I release my music NFT on another platform where I can't make sure that you're following me? You know what I mean? Like,
absolutely. I would never have known about Oohlala. You never would have found me on that site probably ever if I didn't get.
And that's really not a
Lens.
It's not a Lens app though. It's not a Lens app.
But
it
Lens is
virality.
That social platform is what gave me the ability to find that, probably something I never would have come across otherwise. So Lens, not only can you put your own music on Lens and sell through Lens, but Lens also lets you point to those other places where you might already have your music posted.
Well, there is a Lens dApp, Amnesiac, which is limited in its features at this point, which I'll get into it next week when we dive more into dApps. But Amnesiac is literally your music feed. Instead of, like, you know how I was saying earlier, you're in Lenster, you're in LensTube, you're seeing it focused on what it does. Well, this one is focused on music, so you're not going to see any text or pictures or videos. You're only going to see music in this dApp.
Looking forward to going over that one.
Yeah, so as these things open to each medium, it's going to, like, we're still at the skeuomorphic phase of social media, where we're recreating all the things we're used to. Wait till we see the dApp that we didn't predict.
So I was just checking screenshots of when I minted my Lens handle. That was June 10th. And so it literally has only been about 6 months. And so again, when I minted it, felt late. The longer I'm here, the earlier I realize it is. My parting words for it is coming into next week. We'll do some depth exploration here. I would say if you haven't seen rememe.lol, rememe.lol is a really neat little lens opportunity to play with memes, hearing you talk about it, FaZe, because I'm not someone that creates in a heavy way, and I'm not an artist who's looking for like a revenue or distribution stream. I am a collector. I like driving around in my truck listening to your music on my radio. And so we need more folks like y'all. So just keep it up, man.
Yeah, and I mean, there's also AI, being able to do AI and mint it straight to your Lens account. There's a bunch of stuff. That's going to be what this show is about, is diving into Lens. And definitely, I'm glad you jumped in here with us, FaZe. Like, you definitely have some really good hands-on experience with strategy. And I love talking these things with you. So, everyone is invited, but you're definitely always invited to come jump up here with us. We are
Awesome,
going
thank
to
you.
jump. Yeah, hell yeah, man.
I think
We're
we
going to
got
jump
one-
into zombie time.
Well, I think we got one last minute. Indiana Jones diving under the door here. Think Decade just requested.
Oh,
Mike.
Think Decade. Yeah. Come on up here, Think. Let's hear it. It's relentless time.
Whoa.
It is relentless.
Mic check, GM friends. It's
That's it.
literally 2 a.m. here, and I'm happy to be
Oh,
here
wow.
with Tech.
GM.
Yo, GM.
Well, thanks for tuning in.
Thanks for being
This is
with
a
us, man.
brand new show. This Lens one is a brand new show for us this week. So if you liked it, stay tuned. We're going to do it again every week. It'll be our middle program in the Tuesday night GMI block.
Yeah, I love it. I'm loving, and I've been enjoying the discussion a lot, and I've been picking a lot of tips. I guess my one question that I would love to ask is, for a complete noob beginner, what would be like a great advice on where to start when we look at the lens or the lens ecosystem, because I think it's growing now. There's now the video, the normal Twitter like, and we are beginning to have a lot of apps from Favor to Orbs to all of this. So I guess my question would be like, where to begin.
You know what? Like, we're definitely jumped into the deep end talking about creators and artists and developers. And I would say that, like, in a lot of ways, we need to remember, especially if you put that revert collect on, this is still just social media. So just get out there and say GM. Make your normal posts like you do on Twitter, especially if you're using things like Reflect, because if you keep your post under the character count of a Twitter post, it will automatically go into Twitter. There's a little bit of a delay on that, and it doesn't do images. It only does links and text. But I would just say if you're just getting started, and especially if you're not an artist and you're not a developer and you're just like, why do I need Lens if I'm not any of these things? Because it's still decentralized, censorship-proof social media. So get in there and use it like social media. And then the next level would be a curator. Start reposting the things that you like and get paid for sharing the music you like, or the art you like, or whatever it might be. Get in there and just support your friends, and you'll see the Matic rolling in on those referrals.
One thing that I've seen that's worked really well in the Lens ecosystem, it's a little bit unique because it's just a small group of us really kind of right now, is if you're a newbie like that, just tag any single one of us that is a little more established. Zombie's got a good following. I'm doing well. Z's doing well. A lot of the GMI folks.
It's true.
Tag us. We will put you on our shoulders and say, hey, everyone, say hello to this person. And I've seen really great engagement and traction on those introductory posts via a proxy.
It's true. Like, Gerlene will post things and I won't see it, and then it'll just be like 1 or 2 likes. And then I'll like it, collect it, repost it, and it just shoots up 10x like instantly, just because I have a wider audience than she does. And as soon as I hit that mirror, it's getting in front of, I mean, dude, I just hit 1K on Lens, and I'm looking at my Twitter, and I'm at 12K, and I'm like, I'm about to pass up Twitter on Lens. And then my Instagram is at like 3K, 33K or something like that. And I mean, 3.3K. And I'm going to pass that up in a few months. And so I would just say, for anybody, if you're just getting started, if you're not a writer, if you're a writer, this is a place to go, because like, you don't need Mirror anymore, because you can just there's no character count on Lens. So you can literally just get in there and start typing and start writing and just doing what you do on social media. Like, mirror, comment, collect. Hashtag
LMCC.
LMCCC.
You will see that a lot. Yes.
So
Let's call it.
let's call it, man. I'm so glad everybody came here and hung out with us. Like I said, this is part of our continuous 3-hour block of From A to Z content. And the next thing we're going into is our Ooh La La playlist for the night. We're gonna be doing some zombie time, have a little visualizers, and we will see you Friday morning, 2 p.m. UTC for the Avagachi Hall of Fame. And then again, Friday night for our GMI block of content, D420, Zombie Time,